recording.
Or we just wait and what time is it? Yeah, let's wait 1 minute and then we start.
Yeah. 1 minute of silence.
Already
My
the next.
recording is on.
Okay, cool. No, well, good day, good night, good afternoon, where you're at. Today we're gonna do the masterclass with Rapas.
Hey.
He's the or still golden demon painter, and he's gonna explain today about non-metallic metal and lighting and placement on everything. We like to have everybody just to mute their mic when Rapas is talking because it makes it a little bit easier for him. Just keep the small talk in the streaming text. There's no problem with asking questions there, but we have problems with overseeing them. So within every chapter that Rapas says, we will try to do a question round. If you have any questions, just ask them there. If there are any extras you want to know, also ask them then. Rapas and we are doing this for free, and we like to donate something to Rapas also because it's his free time. At the end of the stream, Rapas will put his link to his Ko-fi website online, so you can donate something if you like to. We also recording this, so we can watch it back later. That's going to be through Tart, and it's going to be on YouTube just for free, and people can share it and like it, follow it, everything. And now I'm going to give the word to Rapas for the masterclass. So go ahead, Rapas.
Thank you.
Make sure to all go to the channel of the masterclass stream. They can see all our pictures, and also you can see there the watch the stream from Rapas. Make sure to click that because then you see his screen, what he's trying to explain to you. So
yeah, just tell me if you see the images changing.
Yep.
Okay, so everything is working.
Yes.
So let's start. We're talking about non-metallic metal, and it's nowadays a common technique that everybody wanna try at least. And we can say it's not just applicable on miniature painting, but of course it started with 2D painting. And it's basically just to paint metallic surfaces with non-metallic colors. Sounds simple, but practice is a little bit more complex. Why it's such an interesting technique? Why almost everyone want to try it? Well, I think that the two biggest reason are because it's very appealing for the eyes, you know, because all of that reflections, colors, contrast, and so it's very appealing. And maybe also because it's a challenging technique. It's not the easiest one. Let's say that also through metal it's not easy, but the difficult part aspect of the non-metallic metal is to blend perfectly a lot of colors in a very small area. Of course, for doing that, you need a pretty good technique and a good control of your brush strokes, and mastering the dilution aspect of the colors. I personally prefer true metal, but it's a very personal preference. And maybe if you're interested as well, we could think about making it the next masterclass topic, the true metal. So we can also compare the two. Thinking about what were the most asked question about the non-metallic metal, or at least the one that I saw frequently. Probably the most asked are where to place highlight, which shape to give to the highlight, and maybe how much intense should it be, the highlight, and what colors should I use to paint it. These are not easy answer, but there are not easy answer. But in with these 5 points, we will try to clear everything. So the first 3 points, so understanding and reading shapes, reflection, bouncing lights, and textures. All 3 speaks about where to put the highlights, the reflection, and which shape to use. The last 2 parts are more on colors, but you will see that the colors, I mean, they are very important, of course. We want to choose the right colors, and there's a balance that we need to get with them. But you'll see that the most important part is to place correctly a good position of highlights and the reflections. If I don't choose the perfect colors, but I will get the good spot for the highlights, the effect will still be there. You could see that it's like a metallic surface. Of course, it's better to get good colors as well, but the important aspect is to really understand the light placement. To do that, to understand the reflections and the highlights, we need to visually be able to divide a figure, a sculpture, a miniature, in basic, simple volumes. Why we need to do that? You could ask, because we want to simplify the figure. We don't want to lose ourselves, in a lot of little details that may be very nice and cool, but we want to understand the basic volumes behind all the details. And usually on a miniature, there's a lot of details. So what are basic volumes? To understand it, we need to understand the first basic shape. So the 3 easiest one, the simple, are a circle, a triangle, and a square. Already looking at these 3 and trying to morph them, to stretch them, and adding depth to them, we can create a 3D volume. So we can say that this diamond shape here in the middle is just 2 triangles, one on the other. And if we add the thickness, it became 2 cones, and the same for all of this stuff. This was a square originally. Then I just push one angle of it and create a new shape, and then just add the 3D to it. So now you'll see why I'm telling you this stuff. But from a flat figure, we pass to a volume, and this is of course sculpture. These are 3D models, and we will use this also in the next picture to understand and simplify it. Of course, these are fake. I mean, in these volumes, there's just one light, one direction, no reflections, just one highlight, and the surfaces are very smooth, almost perfect. Almost never we will have this kind of scenario, but it's good to understand how the light hit and what shape it takes. So simplifying the figure, here there are 3 examples of very simple objects. It means really this is what your eyes have to do. So remove the details. You see, there's a lot more details. There's textures here. There's a lot other parts like these rings, metal ring here, there. I don't need them. I just want to see the basic volumes, the construction of them. And so the more I remove, I just need what express the shape of the subject of the figure. And so here you can say it's a rectangle. Here there's a cylinder. Here there's this diamond shape. Now that these are simple volumes, I can start to study the light on those volumes. So here are some examples. A sphere, a cone, a pyramid, a tube or cylinder, and a cube, and a ring, a donut. First, notice two things. One, the tones. So the figure is divided in three tones in this case, which is the highlight one, the middle tone, this gray, and the dark part. Okay. Here the same. The dark background makes a little bit harder to see the final dark part here, but there is just like on this other volume. And so we have tone one, light, tone two, medium, tone three, shadows. Here it starts to become a little bit different, but now we'll arrive here. So first of all, look how the light, it's all intense and all of the same, the highlights on the same color, the tone one. Tone three, same, it's more or less flat. The second tone is where the middle tone, it's more, there's more transition here. I don't know if you can tell. Here it's all almost white. Here it's all almost black. And here we are from black to almost white. So there's two areas that are very, very separated and precise. And in the middle, there's just the transition. Same here, same here, same here. It's a little bit softer, but you can tell there's a little bit of a light here, painted here, painted here. A lot of shadows. And in the middle, you see the middle tone that are transitioning, blending from the two tones. On this surface, it's a little bit different because you notice that on these volumes, there's a curve to it. It's not flat. On these two examples, they are flat surfaces. So what we have, it's we have no longer the three tones divided, light, medium, dark, but we have just one tone for each faces. So this is the light one, this is the medium one, and probably on the other side there will be the black one, like this one. Light, medium, dark. And they are divided very separately. The curious aspect and the strange thing is that here that we don't have edges on these volumes, the light has edges. I mean, the shape of the highlight, you can see, you can tell there's really a shape, and we will see it in the next picture. Here as well, you can tell there's the perfect shape of the highlight. Here, there's not really, you know, a precise shape. It's all blended together. So when we don't have edges, the highlight has edges. Where we have edges, the tones are all melted and blended together. Here we can see better what I mean. Look how defined and well separated are the three parts. Dark, medium with the transition I was talking about, and then just light. So these are examples just to understand the basic volumes. Now we will see how to apply this on a miniature. Final aspect, just look how the shape of the volume, the shape of the object I am painting, tells me the shape of the highlight. So on a sphere, that is a circle, the flat shape of the sphere is a circle, the highlight will be a circle. In the cone, his basic shape flat would be a triangle. The highlight is of a triangular shape. This will be a rectangle, and the highlight will be a rectangle, and so on, so on. So you can tell that the shape of the object is telling us the shape of the highlight we have to put on it. And the shadows, of course. It's all together. Here, as you can see, it's a little bit different. So I can still see this shape of light and here shadow, but it's blended together. It's harder to tell. So what shape the light has? Where to put it? It's easy. It's the place, the spot closest to the source of light. So in this case, you can see the line. It's the source of light where it's coming from. So in the front and up. And so the first spot he hits, it's here. So there's the more intense highlight. Which form? We said, okay, the basic shape, so triangle. So here in this point on this layer, I will have a triangle with the most intense light. Hidden here. Same here. Here is a little bit complex, but you can tell that here there's the highlights, and we are slowly and softly a little bit darker on this area, and same on this stuff. Here you can notice a bit. This angle it's a bit darker, and I move from there to here, and it's a little bit lighter because I'm moving toward the light, nearer toward the light. So now these are very, very easy volumes, and we said they are fake because there's just one reflection, and almost never we will have just one reflection, just one light. But it was crucial to understand now this part. So what we said before, it was here the first 2 points. So visually divide the metal parts of the miniature in basic shapes, simple volumes, and study how the light will hit and bounce. Now we will see the bouncing part on the shapes. Use and find, of course, as many reference picture as you can, because yes, with logic we can understand and decide something, but having a reference, having something you can look at, and you know that it's realistic, that it's pretty useful.
Rapaz,
Yeah.
before we go to the next step, because this was for chapter 1, does everybody understand the basic shapes and how to see them? And
Yeah. Sorry for my English. Maybe
if
I
no
was not
problem.
completely clear.
Yeah. So if there are questions about this, just
First of all,
unmute
you're
yourself.
clear enough, and I think for newbies like me, I think understanding the shapes and the way the light reflects, yeah, it's pretty basic yet crucial for the next stage. So yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, it was. I wanted to make sure that you know the base is here.
yeah.
So
If there are
sometimes when I speak
questions,
about volumes and stuff, maybe not everyone can immediately understand what I mean. So this is just a fast explanation.
No, but you make it very visible and clear on
Okay.
how light hits objects, where it should go, the shading, the yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, this is just the start, but I'm happy.
yeah. No. If Monkey doesn't have any questions more, and nobody
Nope.
else has any questions,
Then I will mute.
No, feel free to interrupt me. No problem.
No.
I think the basic shapes seems quite okay. So
Okay.
let's all continue.
Let's move on.
Let's move on.
Here, a more realistic example. So we have this helmet. So I want to divide it. I can see 2 primary shapes, and there's a circle, a sphere, and this other, I don't know, disc down here. If it's curious that if you look at it, it reminds me about like a vertebra of your spine, and this is the part of the helmet that will go on your neck, and so on your upper spine, and it has a similar shape, of course. But if we draw the construction line of the volume, look how the reflection on this helmet. This first picture is a photo of an helmet. These are I did it with Photoshop with a mouse so it's not very precise, but you can still see that if I get correct more or less the areas, the spot, the result will be there, even if the shapes are a little bit not perfect or not perfectly made. But look at here, all these lines, they are these lines at the end, the construction line of the volume, perfectly describe guide us understanding the shape of the reflection of the lights. Now, let's start also noticing that there's as I said before, there's never just one reflection. There's plenty of them. Also because, of course, light bounces off surfaces. And so it creates a lot of different lights and different reflections all together create a lot of highlights and contrast. But we can tell that there are main ones and then a secondary one, you know. So here you can tell that this part, this is the highlight on over all this reflection. This is the brightest one, you know, here and there, which makes us understand that the light, the source of light, was probably more on the right side, you know, of this. It's probably right and maybe right at this height, not too high, because you can see the upper part here is not very enlightened. So probably the source of light will be at the same level, okay, of this helmet, and a little bit on the right. We can tell by the main reflection of it. So making this process, but backward, you know, we can first decide the direction of the light, the source of the light, and then choosing so where to put the primary reflection. Sometimes for the sculpture is done in a way that you may tell that one direction for the light it's better than another. Other time you can choose freely, and they all work nicely, or at least you have more than one choice. But try to make the lines of the miniature marry with the lines of the light, so that the direction of the light is showing nicely some aspect or some detail of the miniature that are important for you. Also, even this reflection up here in the, and also, yes, remember the part before where we were talking about the shape of the highlight. Look here in the upper part where we have the sphere, the shape it's almost circular, almost, but you can tell on this part that you can just, if you just look at the profile layer of this volume, is just like a rectangle morphed, stretched all around. And so the shape of the highlight on this part down here, it's more of rectangles, you know. So here more circle and here more rectangles, because they are following the shape of the volumes. Also, all these reflection, if you try to merge them, you can see that they are describing another line, and this is another circle, like a ring all around the helmet. And so you can tell how much important it is to understand the volume behind all this reflection and the colors and stuff. Here I just added very few colors, 3 tones, and you can see a medium gray with a bluish part in it. And I just change it a bit on the shadows, a little bit more on the reddish, a little bit more on the greenish or bluish, and a little bit more on the yellowish. It's a very soft difference, but you can tell. And when you look at here all together, soft touches of color, but with right and correct lights placement, it works pretty nicely. So this is the the phrase that you need to remember. Shape of the metallic surface and the shape of the highlights are closely related. Let's see another example. I see this and I try to simplify it in simple volumes. So I see just a tube, if you want, or two cylinder attached. And then if I want, I can make it a little bit more complex, like here. And so I will add this part on the elbow. But if I think about it like here, very simply, simplifying, and I see this line is following, you know, the line of this volume. And I see here at the line of the highlight or the shadows, look, it's really this. So look how they are following all these lines. Of course, here the shape of the material is bended, it's morphed, and so also our lines follow, you know, the shape. And so we have different plates, and so it works like a little bit of a stair, you know, like a step, another step, and so it's just moving a little bit to the side, just like flowing water, or maybe if I put here, you know, a bit of color, fresh color, it's just start to go down, you know, and following the surface. It's just exactly how it works. Here you can see that there are a lot more reflections that in our fake examples in the 3D models. But we will talk about bouncing lights after this. Talking about colors and the shape, look just here, just the shape of every single tone. Of course, here are more they are more blended. I just try to divide them. And you can see that they follow the shape again of the object. So here we will have this line, this triangle, and here the light will catch the upper part of it with light and the bottom part of it with shadows. Again, there's the main reflection and then other reflection all around all these lines, but with less intensity. Okay, this is another important aspect. We will talk it better later. And here some colors. The colors, it's a more it's an easier but at the same time complex topic because they depend on the color of the ambient around your miniature, you know. So you can't always use the same color for a non-metallic metal because a different base or different colors around in general will change the reflection, the colors of the reflection. But later we will talk about colors. Another examples, here you can see all pretty similar. Here, all this shape, I can say, okay, these are all cylinder. And so they have these lines of construction. And the shape of the highlight, it will be a rectangle because the cylinder is flat, a rectangle. Now, let's see this bouncing of the light. In reality, lights always bounce around, okay? And we can easily, a simple way to think about it is just to think about a ball, a bouncing ball. Every bounce it's a reflection. So the light, it's this ball that is coming down from the sky and hitting a surface. Then it will start bouncing, but we don't want a boring rhythm to the bounce, but we want an interesting one. So the more static and linear and it's always the same spacing and the same intensity, it what makes it boring. So to make it more interesting, we want to change the spacing, change the intensity even maybe, and play with colors. So this is what we kind of wanna reach. As we saw before, the lines that describe the construction of the volume suggest the direction of the highlight. So here another helmet with you see another little bit different shapes and another light condition around it, and so with different reflections. first step is always the same. So I want to see the volumes. So I see this ring, then this triangle down here, this half of a sphere up here. Lines are always more or less like this for the construction, and so these are the lines of the reflection. There's two main here, as you can tell, and then minor bouncing all around. You can see that they are similar, baby, but they are never the same spacing. There's never the same spacing between them, and that's what you wanna get. Also, notice that exactly aside from the main highlight, the main reflection, we always have the darker shadow. You can see here, the more bright is the highlight, the more shadows around it. And it's not only a matter of colors and tone reflected into the around the model or reflected onto it, but it's also a property of the contrast itself. Here you can also see the same thing as before, of this little spot of light that create this kind of a circle here. And by the orientation of this circle, we can tell that the orientation of the light is not perfectly perpendicular, zenithal, but it's a little bit on the front and on our front here. We can check again the other element, and also here you can tell the brightest highlight and near it the darker shadows, which makes a very great contrast, and that's a good aspect of the non-metallic metal. We want to get the right place for the highlight, but we want also to get a very big contrast, because one thing that you don't have to do painting a true metal with metallic color is that you may work a lot on shadows, because you want to really arrive to a opaque and matte result on the shadows. But for the highlights, the metallic paint is already reflecting, the light that you are in your room or on a contest, and so it's easier the highlight part, but it's very harder the shadowing part. On the non-metallic metal, I have to create all this contrast. So I want to really use almost pure white. It's one of the few cases in which I will tell you, okay, almost arrive to pure white and pure black while painting the miniature. Because really, a good look, you get it when you really have a strong contrast. Let's look at other examples. This armor, I can imagine. I have to see all these lines that construct the volume, having an idea of the overall shape, and simplify it like it was just an area. Okay, and if you can notice that the highlight placement here on this part and up here, it's more or less where the edges that are not really here, because it's all roundish. But if we had to imagine edges on this armor, they will pretty much be here, and exactly as edges in other part and other also materials, you always wanna highlight them, because I can show you even on these volumes. You can see that you can see here the edges up here and here. It's like there's a little bit of a bright line on it, and that's a rule. Always put an highlight on your edges, and so you can see here the placement. It's more or less that one, and with a reflection. This photo and other are from a very wonderful website. Later I will give you the link so you can check it. And there's a lot of armor and metal parts and weapons, all built by them. and you can find a lot of reference for metallic. It's lovely. But this is a simple shape because you see there's not many details. On a miniature, on a sculpture like this, full of little details, it's harder to see this precise line of the highlights. But you can still, you need still to see the line that we were talking about before. So look how this line is just here. Follow the light. It's up here, came here, here, here. You can see the reflection up here. Then turn it. Okay, so it's really describing this this line, this surface. Even here, you can see here this U of a highlight. And so look how these lines really describe the shape of the human body, if you want. The shoulder, the arm, the neck, etc. Yeah. The next part is on textures, and it will be similar on this part, because now you see, because we said that okay, we want to understand the shape of the highlight of the light, but we'll never have this kind of volumes so perfect, so smooth, it's irreal. Most likely we will have something like this with a little bit of texture, you can see here this picture, or they will, I don't know exactly how and what is it, but maybe polishing the surface, you see all these little lines in here, like scratches, like so we can add this texturing while painting the highlights to both give the impression of the reflection and the texture of the material. To do that, we can use and experiment with different tools and different brush strokes. For example, on this part that I see all these little lines, so I will maybe try to paint it like this. And painting it like this, I want to try to recreate this kind of a shape. But if I just precisely follow this shape, you can see that it's what kind of a strange shape here. You don't want to see perfectly like this, perfectly precise. So we want to blend all these tones, all this color together, maybe using also a textured brush strokes, like in this case, or in this other case, I can use a roundish brush, or also even a stick of wood or something. Like you can try really to experiment with different tools to explore various effects. And this will add really a great realism to the metal. Here are a couple of pictures, this one and this one. And here on Photoshop, I just add some contrast to it, some definition. And you can tell all this line that you can see them also here, but here are more evident. And look how much of them. So that's what I need. If you try to paint the light already with a texture, okay, you may add this aspect to it, and you can see also here, and add also this realism. Now let's notice one thing very interesting. The shape of the reflection of the highlight depends, as we said, on the shape of the object, but also on his texture surface. Because check this. This is a material, you see, very fresh, very new, very smooth, and on this part I just almost like removed the highlight to better see them. And look here, the more smooth and precise and perfect the surface it is, also the more precise will be the shape of the highlight. This start. It's still more or less precise, but it starts to be a little bit of a little bit of a texture, and you can start seeing that there's no more these perfect lines, but they start to break. This example, even more texture. There's all this kind of little circle, and so the highlight will be broken into all these little spots. But at least these were shining. They were clean, So the light is reflecting a lot. On this example, that is an old cup, maybe with a lot of, I don't know. It's dull. It's how to say? It's dusty, So notice that the shape, yes, is still a little bit of a roundish shape, but look how broken it is. It's not a needed, precise shape. Look back to this, okay? So, on a very plain and smooth surface, the highlight will have a precise outline, and they will be easily readable. On a dull, raw surface, the shape won't be as linear. And so always ask yourself, what kind of metal I am painting? What kind of a miniature? It is it a dwarf, an elf, an orc? They treat stuff differently, So you can also add, or maybe already the sculpture has the texture on it. So this is a good thing to keep in mind. Now that yeah.
Let me interrupt you. I think that it's time for a question round again.
Yeah.
I think does everybody know? Does everybody understand what to do and how to tell it? Like texturing, why to use it, when to use it, and how to use it? Or are there any other questions about it?
Well,
Feel free to ask them.
Yeah, from my perspective, it's you kind of whatever you're painting, you just separate it into some sort of grid, which are a great guideline to where the light hits, the reflections, and I can imagine that the basic bouncing of the light makes simple, basic light bounces off. But I do get the point where you the texture of the material you're painting on and how the light reflects has a great impact on the end product, so to speak.
Yeah. Definitely. And because you can say that the concept, the basic concept is the same. Here there's a main highlight and then other reflection, secondary reflection, even here. Main, strong one, the biggest one, and then... So it's the same concept applied everywhere, also here. Of course, change the type of surface, the volume, but the texture will completely change. It's also a historic fact, if you want, that maybe this kind of population will work their metal in a certain way, so you can really tell, there's storytelling.
Every stroke of the hammer can be seen.
Exactly. Or you can see that the more of the highlight I have here, the more I can see the structure and the surface of the
Exactly. So even for non-metallic metals, you can use techniques like scratching, stippling.
Yeah. Of course, you have to if you want, because remember that the light is just like a big eye that is looking. So wherever there is a light, you see more stuff. So if I take here the plate and the shadow, you can't tell much about it,
Yeah, but you can still see on the dark side that there's texture also.
Yeah, there is, of course, but it's more evident, in this part. So the more I paint the highlights, the more I make sure that I want to give them, a shape, a kind of a text or something. And it's also a fun part of it.
Yeah, but it's also where do you create your focal interest?
Yeah,
because you're immediately drawn to the
exactly.
the light spot.
Exactly. because your eyes are attracted to bright colors, colors in general, and saturated colors. And as you can tell, near the light, the highlight, there's also the saturation. Look at here, this yellow and orange. So bringing the contrast and the saturation, and the texture, we are adding all these aspects that will enrich the surface or the miniature. And it's a very powerful aspect. If not, we were just talking about perfect blending, and just after a lot of practice, everyone could paint the same non-metallic metal.
Yeah, it's pretty clear because there's a huge difference between when you're painting a power sword or some Nurgle worn down orcish armor.
Exactly. Try to paint a Nurgle warrior all perfect, like an airbrush painting,
Yeah,
and
that would look strange.
Strange, you need to add a little bit of blood stain or something to make it because that's storytelling. Yeah, tell me.
We still have a question from Uver.
Mm-hmm.
Uver is having trouble with determining your environmental lights. Is there like a set way to handle your environmental lights? Like, do you always put your environmental heights in your midtone or your highlight, or does it depend on the situation?
For me, it depends on the situation, because remember that we wanna eat something. We wanna get something realistic. So we need to study the theory. We need to take reference, etc. But we are also creating something, and if you have fun doing it, there's no other rule. There's no other important part of it. So. You can I choose that based on what colors I need, so maybe I start with just thinking about a couple of lights, the main one, and maybe a colored one that may come from a power gun or something fantasy, I don't know, but we'll just start with a couple of them. Focus on them, try to eat them, to realize them correctly, make them work, and then I just will ask myself, okay, do I think it missed something? Could I add something to make it even better? And then if yes, I'll say, okay, let's add a little bit of another ambient light from here. And so they will just serve to me, to complete the look.
Yeah, so basically you can put your environmental lights in everything. Like, you can put it in your shadows, but you can also apply it for your mid or your high tone, depending on the situation.
Or just to adding a little bit of color and reflection. It's up to you.
Is it then a good way to like glaze over your environmental light afterwards?
Yeah, you can definitely. It's up to you to decide how much you want that influence.
Is your question answered with this? While we wait for his answer, I got an own question from myself. Like, personally, I have a trouble where I over highlight most pieces. Is there a set sort of rule how much highlight you need to apply?
You mean that you go too bright, or you just make
I make the
big areas?
highlighted surface too large, so to say.
Okay. That's a very common problem.
Is there a sort of way to prevent yourself from making that mistake?
Probably there are a lot. My way to move, it's just to do it step by step. So as we will see later for the color aspect of it, I usually start from a mid-tone because I don't want to lose both the color and the saturation and the intensity. And my way of painting is always to alternate light, shadow, light, shadow, light, shadow, light, shadow. In this way, I noticed that I myself can control better this aspect. And so I will just add a little bit of a light, then balance it with a shadow, then add the light. Why do this? Because you may paint an highlight and say, okay, it looks good. It's the intensity, it's perfect, etc. But then you will add the shadows and you will look at it again and said, now it doesn't feel perfect like before, you know. So every time you add something or you touch something, you may need to put end again on it. And I noticed that I have difficulty to understand perfectly how much intense and bright and the shape of the highlights if I don't have all the colors at least on the miniature. If I'm just painting the metal part and I have the primer on the rest, I have difficulty to imagine it completely, you know, complete. So I maybe will help myself putting at least the base color on the rest. And for me, it's all about the miniature has to tell me almost what you know where to put
alternating
something.
between a shadow and a light in your process can give you a better feel for.
For me, yeah, because you are not just moving, you know, on one direction.
Yeah.
Now I will paint light, and then because there, okay, you are painting light, more clear, more bright, more, and you don't know exactly where to stop once you know you are painting all light. Alternating, I can feel better, you know, the spacing, the intensity. Try
Okay.
at least, no problem.
Anyone else with a question still, or can we move on?
And let's say that if you, another thing that I had, if you just look at a lot of picture, a lot of also in reality, a lot of metal objects over and over and over and over again, in the end, they will remain, you know, in your mind, in your memory, in your eyes. And so every time you look at the miniature, your mind is projecting a couple of way to interpret it, the subject, you know. And so just don't underestimate the power of you know the imagination and the memory. Search for a lot of images, take reference, buy books, read, watch films, and notice all this stuff.
Okay.
So moving on, we will talk now a bit. What time is it? Okay, we have half an hour. Perfect. We'll talk about colors. As I said before, it's impossible to tell what colors to use. Not only because we all have different colors, different brand, etc., but also because the color of the metal it's really depend on its reflections, and so of the ambient around it, and of the color of the light. It's very important. So I can tell you, you know, a rule for the colors. What a rule for the color? We can do that, yes, for the for some effect like the oxidation of metal. And here we will just look at a couple of them. And this is another way to add details, you know, and to storytell and to add some storytelling details, just like scratches and the colors. For example, the Nargol miniature would be perfect with some rust on it. We have here the oxidation of iron, which is rust, and the oxidation of copper. Very different results, but as you can see in this image, later we will check it better, you can also use it together and they will contrast lovely, because you have this temperature contrast between cold colors and warm colors. For the rust, you may use very saturated colors, even more saturated than you may think initially. We move from almost a pure yellow, as you can see here, to almost pure orange, to a reddish brown, to a saturated reddish brown, darker and darker brown at the end. And you can see here in the brightest part, it's this ochre, bright ochre, almost yellow. And on the darker part, look at the saturation here. It's amazing. It's lovely. It's not. I mean, if if there's rust on your car, it's not a good sign. But aesthetically, it's wonderful for me. And usually it works well with metallics because you will always add a little bit of a cold color to your non-metallic metal, at least for the silver. So you may add a little bit of a cold green or a little bit of a bluish color. And so all these warm reddish, orangish tones, they really work wonderfully. Of course, it's up to you to decide how much rust to use to put on the miniature. If like before we said it's an Argol miniature, we may also even do like something like this, so full of rust, almost like we can see the metal under it, or a little bit less if we wanna maintain this contrast I was talking about before. Notice that the difference between fresh rust, if we can say that, and an old one. Look, this it's really it makes me feel this door was there for who knows how much time, and you can tell the difference in tones. On the first two examples, much more saturated colors. Here, very desaturated. And the look, here we had yellow, orange, reddish brown, dark brown. Here we have more skin tones, almost, and then violets and bluish color. So we changed it almost completely. In reality, it's just it's more or less the same colors, but very desaturated and with a bit of this bluish shade to it. I love it. I really love it. This one. So there's maybe only a bit of orange of a saturation here that it's missing from the spot here, but lovely. I love this photo. For the copper, instead, we will use, as you can see, very cold colors. And you can see there's a bit of a difference, but they are very similar. They are both this greenish color, but you can use it a little bit more cold, so bluish, like in the two upper example, or a little bit more greenish, like this other. I can't exactly say why this difference, but maybe because of these two, they're big statues, they're all the time external situation with weather and sun always changing and having an effect on them. Maybe these are on other kind of surfaces. So probably here you have the yellowish shade of the sun that day by day it's changing a bit the colors, but they both works, and you may choose the reddish one if you need a greenish color, or a bluish one for this one, but they're very similar. This is a bit more saturated than the other three, but they all work fine. Where do you want to put the oxidation? It's better to try to be quite random in the placing, because there's no perfect rule to that. As you can see, maybe here, yeah, maybe in this part the metal was a little bit different, or who knows. Here it's all rust, so not a good example. But we can say that you can focus especially on recesses, grooves, and for example, these bolts here. You can see that on the edges here, there's not much rust. Also because maybe it's always touching something or a contact with something, and so the rust is coming out. But in the recesses, in the grooves, in the spots here, the rust will and the copper oxidation will stay. So we can say, look at here, or even here, you can see this disc, and there's all the line round line around it. So we could say that it's almost like a wash. So we can start with these oranges, with even an old brush. So I don't want to use a pretty brush because I want this chaotic and shapes, and then forms. So I can have fun first with an old brush or something, and then with a good brush and with very few drop of colors, of diluted colors, just go around and put it in all these grooves, in all these. You can also make those grooves on your sculpture. So without, you can choose or to paint them, or to take a cutter. I use a manual tool. I don't even know what is it for. To maybe add some scratches, some cut, something to the plastic miniature. So then you don't have to paint them all, and if you apply a wash, it will go inside all these scratches, and you will add a little bit of a cool realism. Of course, maybe on orcs, on Naglish, on the races, the subject that are good for it. But of course, yeah.
Isn't it not like a common rule that rust and corrosion travels with the gravity and on places where water collects? Like seeing the gears on the first picture. It's like the most rust is in the places where water can collect.
Yeah, of course, and where water collect in the recesses and in all the concave part of the surface. So yeah, but it's exactly that. Of course, so humidity and water causes rust.
Yeah.
I've also seen people use texture paints on metallic surfaces like typhus corrosion or even badland acrylics to create the scaly, flaky
texture of it. Yeah. For sure. Yeah, you can. There's also, I saw maybe on bigger scale, maybe not on 28 millimeters miniature, but there's also this, what's the name? Let me check. It's like sandy paste. I have this from a Vallejo model, and it's like vinylic glue with sand.
Yeah.
And you can mix it to the color or mix the color to it, and then just apply here and there to texture it. Yeah. I personally prefer to make it on the sculpt, so with cutter or with the texturing of it, and not just all painting, because if I just paint it, it's an illusion. Okay, and I may be very good to paint illusions, but I don't know. It's like good, but it could be more realistic. So I kind of use both. Something I will texturize it on the miniature, something I will create it on the miniature, some cut, some scratch, and other part I will paint it.
But if you use like those textures, whether it's through cutting or scratching or texture paints or whatever, does that have any big influence on the way the light hits? Do you have to keep that in mind as well?
Yeah. But remember that the smaller it is, the volume, the texture we are talking about.
So don't overdo it.
Exactly.
Okay,
Don't exactly. So don't go too much contrast on that. I noticed that my experience that just getting the color right, so this yellowish, orangish, and reddish browns, and keeping the saturation. Even without texturing, the look will be there. The effect will be visible. And
Okay, cool. Thanks.
then everything you want to add, it's a plus, and it's welcome.
Cool.
I just saw a comment from Saladin. He says oxidation difference between cold and warm greenish tones. It's because the salt in the air. So near the sea, there's more closer to warm green.
Right.
It's a very interesting thing to point out. Also.
Yeah. The good thing is that if you wanna go deeply into it, there's always an explanation and a good reason, a logical reason to stuff. So thank you for for this one. Of course, you may not need to know everything when you decide something, but the more you know, the better you can decide. So great. Are we okay? Other questions?
So far from myself and probably Monkey, not anymore. I don't see any extra questions or extra things on the chat.
Perfect.
So I think we can go to the colors.
Let's go. So
let's go. Yeah.
This is the way I paint. It's not the rule, but I can show you my way. I usually start from medium tone, as I was telling Robin before. But I will try to hit 3 slightly different medium tone. So let's say that this one in the middle, it's the real medium tone. I will just make it a little bit brighter and a little bit darker. And just to study a bit, okay, the overall shape, to say the volumes and the light direction. So here with just the 3 colors that are very close, but I can start to study and to understand, okay, where I want my light. I want from the left, from the right, from the top, perfectly zenithal. I can choose, having this 3 tone, but all 3 medium. You can see that here, yeah, there's a bit of contrast, but it's all medium tone again. From here, when I have, okay, when I consider everything and I said, okay, I like this way, I can move on and reach the colors and pump the contrast. And that's what I started to do here. If you look at the colors, I choose on purpose. I said, okay, let's put here some crazy color that probably I would never pick, And I said, okay, let's put them around. And if you have patience, you can find the right place for every color. Of course, I didn't use them pure, or I did, but very, very softly. So the opacity of it, of the brush strokes was very, very low. And notice that I use both cold and warm colors. This is a constant you will see in a lot of not only in non-metallic metal. Because if you have both warm and cold and you are exchanging them and you are moving through them, you will have a very more vivid and intense look. And remember, on the non-metallics, it is exactly what I want. So as you can see, where I choose to put the final highlight, and you can tell that are on the edges all around. Every time I get an edge that is facing the light, of course, I will lighten it a lot. Almost to a pure white, and I said, okay, now I want to use this color, so I mix them with my medium tone, and I got other colors or other shade of the same colors, and so we can see that there are differences in color, but also in tonality, in values. So here we have this dark purple that of course is darker than these other three colors here, the greenish, the skin tone, and the bluish one. So I will add this one for my shadows. So you can tell that every time that I add a straight or a strong edge, so a difference in light and shadow, I would put there a bit of a purple. This is a bit overdo it. I mean, it's a almost too fantasy, too colorful. But you can tell that adding these colors, these crazy colors, it helps, you know, that kind of reflection, color reflection that a metallic surface has. Yes, this is the fact. Warm and cold colors enrich the look of it and make it more interesting for the eyes. Make sure to mix, even if they are very saturated, like in this case, to mix them with the medium tone. Even in this picture that I showed you before, look at these colors, and here you have all the spot. We have some gray that is cold, like this one, and some brown that is warm, like this other. It's soft, as you can tell here. Both the warmness and the coldness of the color is very soft. Here instead are very, very, you know, saturated and very high in saturation. But still, so there's a balance to it. Here both the warm and the cold colors are very saturated. Here both are very desaturated. But there's this balance, and there's this continuous alternating of the cold and warm colors. So you can say that this brown that I'm pointing at, it's we can say it's a warm color. This is a cold gray. This yellowish, it's a warm color. This bluish, greenish, pale tone, it's a bit of a cold color. So always try to mix them and to alternate them. I can't tell you, use this color for the silver, use this color for the... I may tell you, yeah, for example, I feel good and I find myself very nicely painting the gold, non-metallic metal, just with black and a yellow. Not maybe a primary yellow, but maybe more of an ochre or let me think. Yeah, let's say a yellowish brown. If you just take those two colors, black and this ochre brownish, and you mix together, you will get a lot of wonderful shading, from a dark desaturated green to a final yellow, and then you just add white. So I may tell you that there are, some colors that works pretty fine, but the reality is that there are a lot of different metals to start begin with. Here, these are three images. I didn't do that. You can see down here the website of this artist, but I choose them because he basically apply what we said before. You know, the oxidation, the texture of the possibly of the metal, and you can see here what we were talking about. And this may also be the kind of a texture also for the rust that we were telling before. The reflection of you see the colors that I use, and up here the metal reflects the sky, and so there's a bluish color to it. Down here it reflects the ground, the trees, and so there's a bit of a brownish green and some ground colors. So the colors you will use will be every time different, because there will be different colors all around, you know. Or maybe the fabric of the miniature near the metal part on a miniature is red, on another is blue, and so you will have a shade of different colors. Here there's the gold, maybe a little bit of a cold gold, it seems, but pretty good. Look at here, and you can see it's still same colors as before, bluish and brownish ground on the base. Same here. Of course, there's a difference in the medium starting tone. When here it's more clean, you know, and bluish, but almost white. And here there's this yellowish layer on it, wash to it. Oh, sorry, this was copper, not silver. Yes, you can tell by the pink, like salmon, you see? Salmon blend to it. So this is copper, gold, and silver. Silver, okay, more bluish, exactly. So we can tell just that the silver will be a little bit on the bluish part, the gold on the yellowish ochre, and the copper maybe on the skin tone salmon color, sometimes even magenta. These are cool reference. I will post you that. Now, let's look at other reference. So this is a 3D model, and then we will have some cool miniature. But let's start from this because it's pretty interesting. Notice how the sculpture is the same. The subject is the same. But here, okay, here there are colors, here not. But not. Let's just not look at colors. Look at the highlights, okay, and shape of the highlights. This is all highlighted like it was a normal surface, not metallic. Here it's like it's metallic. Check how on these surfaces you see how the highlight is smooth. It's soft, almost like on the fabric down here. Okay, or on the leather here. Here instead, look how more contrast there is on the metal. Now it looks metal in here, okay? Both for the reflection, so for these colors, and here you can see the bluish, the yellowish, a little bit of pink or purple, here more pink, and you can see that the colors that we were using here, oops, here, okay, they were strange but not completely unrealistic. But what really changed from here to here, it's really the contrast and the softness here and the hardness here of the highlight. Check the helmet, check the shoulder pad, check the plate here, look at the hand, the gloves here and here. You see? Very strong, very precise. Here it's all blended together, it's all smooth, and it looks like, you know, a wood surface or a leather surface or a fabric, something, not metal. So here with this image you can get, and even the fabric it's it's a lot contrasted, probably too much. Now it looks non-metallic also, even the fabric, but you can check the difference. Now let's look some miniatures, well-painted miniatures of non-metallic. Different example. This is from Arceus. Okay, that's Britain. It was, I think, an old piece, like some years ago, but still lovely. And you can tell that. Look at the difference here in the gold, and maybe here. Look where he put a little bit of this reddish, orangish reflection out. It looks better, in my opinion, at least. I would add a little bit of this saturation in the red, maybe also a little bit on this part, but lovely result. What we can see, first of all the edges you can see are very, very well enlightened. All the rivets here, of course, there's a big, and then notice also that they have all these edges with highlights, but it's not a complete highlight. I mean, it's not start from here and go all the way in the same way down here. It's here more intense, and then it just blend together. Same here. In this first part, it's more precise, more strong here, more, and then The more I go far from here, it's just a blend and the smooth. And you can tell on each part. This is very important because if I would just use the same highlight all over, all these edges, just going around with the same intensity, I will break, okay, this effect. So it's important to, you can see even here, this side, it's a little bit brighter than this side, a little bit. So always remember not to be perfectly symmetrical, not to be perfectly linear in everything you do. Just always remember to add something, you know, that overall it should be balanced, but not everywhere in the same way. That's the difficult part in reality. This is from Flameon Miniatures, I think.
Yeah,
Lovely.
the one is from Flameon Miniatures.
Yeah, you can tell by the perfection in the blends and the transition. And here you can tell that what we were talking about before. On this kind of surface, I will not put a rust effect or some textures, strong, you know, texture and stuff, because it's not the right subject. But again, let's notice something. So here, cylinder, and we have the squarish rectangular shape that we were studying before. Here we have this roundish shape, and of course the light, it's a circle. Okay. Then we have also a couple of reflection from the gold, the yellows. Also here, look at how cool it is. But this is a clear example of a perfect blending technique, non-metallic, which if you like and you want to do it, try it. But you need, I think it works with airbrush. I'm not sure 100%.
No, actually,
No?
I've been in Patreon for him,
Mhm.
and he uses a very thin paint. Not
Mhm.
even, yeah, it's between layer and glazes,
Yeah,
but he uses like a million tiny little stripes. He uses
exactly.
like his brush is almost like an
Yeah, one,
eyelash thick, and it's like a million stripes next to each other.
exactly.
But what he
And,
mostly does in the beginning,
mhm.
he makes sure that all the colors are on the right place. So, for example, the leg where your mouse is on,
Yeah,
the cylinder on top, where you set the block,
yeah,
that no, yeah, the between
nice.
those, that
Yeah,
one, that is first a pure blocking in colors like yellow, black,
yeah,
ochre,
exactly. And then
ice
it
yellow,
blends.
pure white, and then it's gonna just tiny lines between
Yeah,
them
yeah, yeah.
to blend
And
them
these
and smooth them
lines
up.
probably uh, they will be something like this. I mean, so he's just painting all these little
No,
lines,
only
not
straight
maybe this
lines.
chaotic. Yeah,
No,
straight.
only straight
Yeah,
lines.
yeah.
Yeah.
Straight because he doesn't want a texture.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. So if you wanna add the texture, you wanna make sure that you see all these lines, all these spots. If you want a perfect blend, like this case, it's just different techniques.
Yeah.
Then yes, you want everything, so everything blended together perfectly, and so all straight line and all in the same direction without changing the direction of the lines.
Yeah, and he makes it look like he done that in like a few hours.
Mhm.
Believe me, it takes like ages to do that.
Yeah,
So
yeah, I know. That's the way I was painting the first years that I was really into the hobby and I was improving. Uh, I wanted everything because when I started there was no airbrush or stuff, and so everything you wanna make sure that you do a perfect blend with your brush, no? But it was a good practice, and I will do everything like this. So hours and hours and hours and hours of smooth, thin lines and spots, but it may drives you crazy. So I'm not suggesting you to do it 100%. But if it's your style and you love this kind of painting, yes. But if we talk about a light placement and reflection, uh, 10. What can you say? Nothing. perfect. You can see you can always see the main reflection in every volume. There's also very clear the main reflection, and then others, and the colors are always changing a bit. You can see here there's this ochre, then a bit of a reddish brown, then a green, then this less saturated colors, almost white, you know. Also, even here, you can see that this is not gray. This is just not gray, you know. If you just take white and black and mix together and paint with that gray, it will not look like this. Here he had a little bit of course, of reflection of the yellow, and I'm sure he had a little bit of cold colors, you know, to get this temperature contrast between the warm reflection and the cold color of the steel. Lovely. This is a very, very old miniature, probably first 2000s, but for that time it was very, very well done. And the painter was the guy that also painted this model, but not this in particular. This was a version, let's say, how to call it? The same exact model was made by this artist, and this is the the copy, but in a good way, of this Spanish guy. And as you can tell, it's not bad, because also here on the red part you can see correct light placement and stuff. But what we can tell, what not convinced me 100%. First, here you can see what I was telling before. Here you can see this is more of a gray. You see? The silver, the steel. Here it's more gray. Let's turn back to the other before. It's a bit different, you see? Here there are more subtle colors, there are more soft shades. Here is just gray with white, you know, but it's gray. Look at here. Placement, okay. The blend is cool, but just gray. It's not convinced me 100%. It's not it not looks like a metal to me. The gold, it's a bit better, but notice how this is all flat blending, like they were not three-dimensional. You see there's no reflection, there's no bouncing, there's just one main reflection, and that's it. And it's not bad, but it just remove one point from the realism, you know, that he could have. Look with more reflection, more colors, more, you know, temperature contrast. Okay, more realistic. This is good. This is not bad at all. For the time, this was amazing. I was, you know, checking this picture at the time and saying, "Oh my God, lovely! I would love to do something like that." But we can improve it. And now, the good stuff, the very good stuff. This is Kirill Kanaev, the yellow one. This Russian painters. I don't think he paints Warhammer or not often. It's more of a bust painter or a big sculpture, big scale. But now I will show you a couple of these, and just immediately check the highlights, the shape and the intensity of the highlights. Also the shadow, but you first see the highlights. Oh, this is okay. Oh, Vincent Udon, exactly. And it's another photo of the other. Lovely, too gray, you know. Add some colors to this gray and add some reflection on that gold, and this may look lovely. Maybe on this it's corn, it's chaos. Maybe add some rust or effect. Will also be good on this. This is another bust from Kirill. And check both these lines. Oh, here you can see them. You see all these little lines. Exactly what I was telling you before about the texture. Here you have lines. Here you have, look on this blade. it's irregular, you see, but it really give that use the metal, you know. This sword is not fresh, new, first time used. My opinion, probably here the highlight on the on the belt, it's a little bit too strong. I understand it on the metal, but maybe it's a bit too strong. But lovely piece. Look at here, this reflection here, the main reflection up here. Lovely. Main reflection, very, very bright, near a good, strong shadows, and then the bouncing reflection, and another bouncing. You see, even here, a bouncing, colored bouncing, bouncing, etc. Now, Robin, Tard, if you remember where we said, okay, my problem is to overdo, to paint the highlights and go too hard with it. Look how lovely it's done here. Look all these little, rings. Check how the highlights, it's blended and moving out from down here. It's coming out, all the highlights. Click, 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 click. So every single ring, and then they are gently blending away, and disappearing. Lovely. So we want this kind of transitioning. Even if it's not a flat surface, even if it's all this texture, etc., we want this stuff. You can see here this transition, all white. Here almost all black with just the edges and the nails. With the highlights, and then transitioning all this blend transition from dark to light. Lovely. And then the texture on the fabric. Lovely, lovely. Another one from him. Here it's a strong choice of colors and strong spots. Maybe even a little bit too much for my taste. But the more I zoom in, the more I say maybe it's too much. But looking from here, it looks wonderful. Here you can tell where it's this green coming from. I don't have it on the miniature. Here the intent was probably to reflect something of the scenery, of the background. So maybe there was trees or something, and so the yellow may very well be the gold of these soldiers or the sun or something. The greens probably is from the back. Another example. Here, a stranger choice for this bluish purple, but look at this. Look at we were talking about no metallic. Look at this. Lovely. Highlight strong. On the other side, dark. Dark also here near of it, of course, but on the opposite side, because here it's the light is bouncing directly on here, and here is not. So just on the edges. And if you check on the bottom of all these volumes, even all these nails and stuff, there's a bit of this green. It's here, it's here, it's here more of a bluish here. And when I zoom out, it makes sense, Look all the lines, the texture we were talking about. This crazy MF, look, he did even paint the reflected shadows from the helmet, and so the light that is passing through the holes. This is painted, incredible, and the strange looking shield. Oh, this is the same meter, and so now maybe you know this is painted the reflection of the leg. I think yes, yeah, it's painted. Okay, you see how many crazy people there are. But check again, saturation, contrast. Lovely. This is an old miniature, but same stuff. See the lights, it's broken in little spots. I think this was the last one. Yeah. So now I'll show you first a link. Let's see here. Oh yeah, after this. Can you see this page? I think yes. Right?
No, we cannot.
No, okay, because yeah, wait. I need to change Windows. Put this. Okay. This is the website, Hellenic Armors. And if you go on Armors, you can choose on various subjects and ages. And you have some good example, you see, both on historic elements, so reference, and on reflection, metallic reflection. Or close up, or on different shapes. So finding the right reference is very, very, very important. Oh, look at this! What beautiful! Okay, so let's try to find some website or something like this that gives you high quality reference picture. Because it's very important. Here you can see the main reflection. We can see the texture of the highlights, even if it's real. Look at here, and the other color reflection. Like there's a bit of orange and a greenish color, bluish color here. And so just give it a check, because it's very, very, very useful. You have a lot of cool, very well done pictures. And then, it's a bit late, but I just wanted to talk very briefly about some of the picture. In the next days, I will take one picture for everyone that is posted on the Discord, and I will modify it on Photoshop and post you, so you can see the difference and what I mean. But we can talk briefly about this four, and then maybe stop here. I like all of this. Can't remember, sorry, the name of the painters, but they have probably the same aspect that you can improve. And again, I will show you better than on Photoshop. But notice how the contrast, the light and the shadows up here, it's more or less the same down here. Yeah, maybe here there's a little bit of a highlight more, but same, more or less same here on the side, same here on the side. Okay, same in the middle. Let's see this. Oh yeah, then I started a new one, but more for now, same stuff. Too similar all around. Even this one. It's good. Of course, zoomed like this, every meter looks looks not amazing, but from here it looks pretty cool. Very good reflection, good technique, good contrast. But again, the intensity of the lights up here are more or less the same down here, down here, on here, down here. Instead, we want to, if what we said before, that if the light is coming from a direction, in this case maybe from the top here, the first surface that he hits, it's the brightest one. So this may be the brightest one, and then falling down is just maybe a little bit, but it's darkening itself. So we want the first spot hit by the light of the meter with a stronger light than the other part. And it's very important. If not, it's like putting all the surfaces from the head to the foot on the same level, on the same distance.
and it's not like that, you know. So we may add a little bit of realism by changing a bit also here. Here it's a pretty good result. I will just do what I just told now. So differentiate a bit the bottom part from the topper part. Also here, it's not. I will use a little bit of a stronger and brighter highlight on this part than on the legs. But I love the colors used. Maybe just could improve a little bit of a definition. Let's go back on the miniature that I show you. That I show you before. So this. Look how define. Look the definition of this non-metallic. Look where is the highlight. It's clear. Look how this dark line down here, it's very well precise, you know, everything is smooth and that's a really a good definition. How you reach the definition? By the contrast. So the definition, you can say a spot like here, it's defined. Why? Because you have a dark line and then a very bright line, you know, and put it together, you will see the definition, the contrast. Let's go back to your miniature. Here you see it's we could use more definition. So let's try to use the brighter color, maybe to go around and light the edges of some part. Maybe here on the shoulder, here on the backpack, on the fingers. And put maybe a little bit of a black lining, as you did here on around this symbol. Maybe on the balls, around the balls here, around the balls there, under the boobs here, you know. So try to improve the definition by improving the contrast. But
this miniature was actually from Jovar. He's actually in chat but doesn't have a mic, and he says he was pretty angry on you because he said the armor on the miniature was not the attempt on the non-metallic metal. It was the
metal.
gold part. No.
Okay.
It was more for him for the gold than for the armor. But actually, I think you you told pretty good. You helped him also with that, but maybe some extra tips on the gold for that one.
The gold I can. So wait, but so this is done with metallic color. It's just not that may not be was not. He didn't want to do metal like it was just maybe a bluish or a greenish color. Because to me, the way he painted the reflection, the highlight looks like a metal. Look at here. Looks like metal. But okay, I see now. The gold, it's well done. What it means, it's a bit of a warm color. If you see, it's like a greenish yellow, you know. Yes, we have this brown, but it's still a desaturated greenish brown. I don't have much of a reddish shade to it. So I will put a little bit of red and orange to it. You can use maybe the reddish. You use on this or also on the blood, or something. But try to get really a strong saturated orange, okay, orange or reddish, and use it here. The light placement, it's good. Let's say you may get better the edges. So put a little bit of highlight on the edges, and on these little cones, these spikes, you will have like we saw in the first example, in the first basic shape images, a triangular shape of the light that on this big one I can see from here, but maybe it's the orientation of the picture. But it looks good. so they are very small surfaces, so I know you don't have all the space to try to experiment. So maybe try to even start a boost, or a big miniature where you have big surfaces. So there you can experiment well with colors. Then you try to condense it to reduce it on a little miniature, because it's harder, of course, to work on a very, very little space. So it's well done, but try this with a little bit of more of a reddish shade on a bigger surface.
Yeah, it was his first attempt that he said. And actually, I think I gave him one of the members his recipe. It was from Travis, if I'm correct. And he used it, or he tested a more greenish gold.
Yeah.
And
But I
that's why
like
he
it.
used this.
Yeah, but I said to you before also that I like to paint gold starting from a yellow and the black. So these exactly are the colors that you get. But for what we said before, to add more shading, to add more colors, to make a reflection and stuff, to make it more vivid, more intense. Yeah, a bit of orange here and there. It's like the other example I mentioned before. I change again. I mentioned before on this miniature here, where I said look at here, where he placed also down here, where he placed down here a bit of orange, of reddish orange, how the non-metallic looks better in my opinion than here, because here it's more of a brownish color. Goldish, if you want, but here with more reflection, more colors, more saturation, I like it more. Then maybe it's again a personal preference, but try to add that. Also here you can see same here, this is just a yellowish gold, but on this part it becomes a little bit orange, so it's just that little variation that helps you a lot. So I think that we are over the time, but I will work in the next few days on the images that you posted on the Discord. If anyone has other images or some old pictures of work of non-metallic, post them. I will edit them and we will talk about them. I will maybe write you down some suggestion, and you can confront the result. If anyone has other question or something, please, this is the time. Oh, I'm looking now at new picture on the Discord.
I don't think
Well,
questions.
Reeve, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah.